I never thought I was going to say these words, but I'm actually excited for the AION 2 global release. Let me explain. I played AION 2 on Korean release for about 2 weeks and I genuinely thought that the game was shit. Even made a few videos complaining about the excessive grind, RNG progression, and the obvious overpriced subscriptions paired with the bullshit pay to win. I uninstalled the game and completely forgot about it. Fast forward to the global release announcement and something triggers in me. Like some sort of MMORPG sleeper agent hitting the words global release. I was awake and ready to snort that good old MMORPG hopium. It's addictive as fuck to be this mindless, headless chicken just gobbling up the next big thing. I have been so deprived of quality MMORPG that I simply cannot break this vicious cycle of being excited for a new release. But you and I both know that nothing beats the new MMORPG feeling on a launch day. Even if the game is shit, even if it's pay to win, even if you plan to play for a week. You already know that despite everything, you will download that fucker in September and play until the servers die. Because they will. The good thing is that Amazon Games won't be there to ruin AION 2 with their incompetence, but the bad thing is, NCSoft probably will. After the global release announcement trailer, I started catching up with all the updates and changes, and honestly I was kind of impressed that they actually listened to the feedback and made some genuinely good improvements. Is this all just a trick to get Western players excited? I don't know, but it was working on me. Before I knew it, I was downloading AION 2 again and getting ready to jump back into the Korean servers. And honestly, if you're even remotely interested in playing AION 2 when it launches globally, now is probably the best time to try it. You get to see what the game actually looks like after months of updates, figure out whether it's something you'll enjoy. The only problem is playing on Korean servers from the West without a VPN is basically asking for a bad time. You don't want your first impression of the game to be ruined because your connection is bad. That's why I use GearUp Booster. It's not just a basic VPN, it's a game-focused network accelerator with routing technology and dedicated gaming servers designed specifically to reduce ping, fix weird routing issues and keep your connection stable while playing online games. You can easily switch regions to Taiwan and Korea to play. So if you want to give AION 2 a shot before the global release, check out the link in the description. You can download it, create an account and you'll get a free 24-hour trial to test it yourself. And if you decide to stick with it, use code FRESHIE at the checkout to get 10% off any subscription plan. Anyway, with my connection sorted, I was finally ready to find out whether AION 2 actually deserved this second chance. But the excitement didn't last very long. I played on Korea and they are very notorious at blocking anything that isn't Korean and has suspicious activity. Every 15 minutes on the dot I would get disconnected from the game because their shitty AI system flagged my account as a bot account. I had to verify my account by doing some stupid captchas, but that didn't work because they would just reflag it as soon as I got back in. After doing the verification about 15 times, I gave up, uninstalled Korea and installed Taiwan. I was told that on Taiwan they don't give a shit about bots, which after seeing this makes sense. No, these are not actual players leveling their characters in the same area like I am, they are all bots. Here you can even see a bot trying to interact with this thing to finish the quest, but the stupid thing aggroed a mob which is attacking it and interrupting. So the bot cannot complete the quest and progress. I reached level 45 in literally one afternoon. I don't know if leveling was improved and streamlined, but I do know that I hit level 45 on day 4 after the Korean release. Maybe I was just bad and stupid, but it did feel like both mobs and bosses were significantly weaker than I remember. At level 45 the grind begins and never stopped, literally. The game explodes in your face with all the content, pop-ups and notifications telling you what was unlocked. And there was a lot. It was very overwhelming because I don't know much about all the systems, how they are connected, what is important and what isn't, and I haven't done any farming or grinding to increase my gear score. I was at the same spot where I was 7 months ago, but this time I wanted to learn. And this is where AION 2 basically stops holding your hand and says, alright, figure this shit out yourself. Because once you hit 45 the game opens up. Suddenly there are dungeons, PvP, gear progression, crafting, a million different currencies, and enough menus to make me question whether I was playing an MMO or doing my taxes. But honestly, I kind of liked it. Because this was the point where I stopped just following whatever the game was telling me to do and actually started figuring things out for myself. I started running the different content, messing around with my gear, figuring out what was worth doing and what was basically a waste of time, and slowly started putting my character together. That's when I realized something I didn't expect. AION 2 has a lot of shit to do. There are your regular dungeons, harder versions of them, solo content, raids, PvP, events, crafting, gathering, open world stuff. I'm not going to sit here and explain every single one of these systems because honestly, I don't even understand half of them. But after actually spending some time with the game, I started getting a much better idea of what I liked. For PvE, expeditions became one of the main things I was doing. You run them, get your rewards, improve your gear, and then use that improved gear to do harder shit. You know, the eternal MMO cycle. Number go up, content gets harder, number needs to go up again. And I'm not complaining, that's basically why I play these games. There was also PvP, and this was where I was genuinely surprised. Battlefield is a 10v10 equalized PvP mode, so everyone is roughly the same level. And honestly, I had a fucking blast. I didn't expect that. I've played plenty of MMO PvP where you enter the arena, get hit by someone with a gear score 3 times higher than yours, and spend the next 5 seconds staring at the respawn screen wondering why you even queued. But here, I actually felt like I could play the game. And that's probably the first piece of content where I thought, okay, I can see myself playing this for a while. Of course, AION 2 also has the other side of MMO progression, the part where you spend a ridiculous amount of time collecting materials, upgrading shit, and trying to squeeze another tiny bit of power out of your character. And some of it is completely reasonable, and some of it made me look at the screen and think, who the fuck designed this? Especially when I found out that some of the best PvE gear can be crafted, and crafting has an RNG chance of succeeding. So basically you can spend a month gathering your materials, finally get everything you need, hit the button, and the game can just say, not today bitch. And then I discovered something even more ridiculous. Cosmetics gives you stats, not just your gear. Pets and wings can give you stats too, even titles have stat effects. And you actually have to grind and collect them to get those bonuses. But then there was one part of the game that was definitely not an experiment. It was just fucking broken. The Abyss. At least on Taiwan. This place is absolute chaos. The majority of people I've seen there are either bots or players using some kind of auto padding or auto farming setup. They're running around the same areas, killing the same mobs over and over, and some of them aren't even trying to hide it. I've seen flying auto-padding bots that specifically target other players. They just fly around in a loop, find someone and one-shot them. And the funniest part is when 2 of these players from opposing factions run into each other. Because then you get to watch 2 ridiculously overpowered characters, both apparently running some kind of farming setup, fight each other for 5 fucking minutes. And nobody dies. It's honestly impressive. You have 2 people with enough gear to delete an entire server in one hit, and they're just standing there beating the shit out of each other while accomplishing absolutely nothing. I've played a lot of MMOs, I've seen some weird shit, but the 2 whale bots fighting each other is definitely new. And this is the one thing I really hope gets addressed on the global servers. Because the game itself is actually starting to grow on me, and having an open world PvP zone filled with bots is just depressing. But despite all of that, I actually came away from these first few days pretty positive about AION 2. Which is kind of fucking annoying, because I went into this expecting to hate the game. I had already made up my mind, because that was the narrative I was seeing and hearing from other people. They kept telling me the combat looked clunky, the monetization was going to piss me off, and the game was going to be another Korean MMO that I would play for 3 days and never touch again. And somehow, I'm still playing it and enjoying it. I don't think AION 2 is perfect, there's definitely things I don't like, and there are things I want to see changed. But underneath all the bullshit, there's actually a game here that I'm enjoying. And I think the biggest surprise for me is that I haven't even gotten close to figuring out everything yet, because the game does a pretty terrible job of explaining how you're supposed to progress. But for now, that's my initial proper first impression of AION 2. I came back expecting to hate it, and somehow 3 days later, I'm sitting here thinking, fuck, I might actually have to play this for a long time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.